Well, I did it. I went and saw the Dark Tower movie, opening night, after all the hype, after all the build-up, after all the want and desire of that movie. And the biggest takeaway I got from it was meh. That's about it. There was a group of us from the Ardent Alliance who went and saw it, and I think the overwhelming view was that it was okay. It was an all right, sci-fi movie. Nothing too thrilling, nothing too exciting. One person actually even said that it reminded them of Terminator 2. If Terminator 2 was super watered down and didn't have a bunch of special effects and the story was kind of washed out and really didn't have much going for it. Yeah, Terminator 2. If Terminator 2 was super boring, at least the soundtrack was good. That's one good thing going for it. Now, if you haven't read the books and you're thinking to yourself, that's fine, I haven't read the books, so I'm not really in love with the story a whole bunch, I guess that's okay. There are people who I've talked to who haven't read the books and went and saw it, and they said it was fine. Nothing too exceptional, just fine. The problem is I have read the books, and I love the books. They're kind of like my favorite book series ever. So I've got a few big issues with it. First of all, I don't know what the hell story they were telling. I mean, it felt like the writers and directors got together, they skimmed the 7.5 books, and then they decided to take particular pieces of it out of it, like a really bad outline. And it's kind of like they said, okay, Roland, last gunslinger, stoic, likes guns. Jake, male boy, maybe going crazy. Man in Black, bad guy, magic, dresses in black. And then they made a movie around it, just ignoring all the character development and all of the background story and all the things that made the story kind of good. Oh yeah, there was a tower in there as well, and there are other worlds that you can visit, but those are just minor things. We're not going to worry about those. So you kind of see that it kind of sucked the life out of the books. Here's where I kind of get into the bigger spoiler part of it. So if you haven't read the books or haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want the movie spoiled for you, here's the traditional warning. So I'll give you a second for that. If you want to go see the movie first and then come back, please, then we can discuss this and have have that big discussion that I'm looking forward to. Ready? Here we go. The biggest problem I have with the movie, Jake Chambers doesn't die. And I know that's kind of terrible to say, hey, you're upset because a little kid doesn't die. It's important to the story. And it happens so powerfully within the books that it sets up the rest of the series. See, the story isn't necessarily about the Dark Tower. The story is about these people who are obsessed with finding out what the tower is about. And actually, if you think about it, the first book has very little to do with the tower. It more has to do with the fact that you find a particular determined person on the search for answers. And that's what that story is kind of about, is he's looking for answers from another individual that he's been chasing. The fact that Jake doesn't die shows that Roland really isn't worried about sacrifice. He really isn't obsessed with his goal. I mean, they gleam it kind of in the movie, but it's nothing that he is obsessed with. It's something that is kind of in the background. In the movie, he's kind of a stoic guy who's kind of down because his world is disappearing, but he's accepted it. It's fine, whatever. In the book, he's passionate and driven and single-minded focused. It's kind of the character that is Roland. He's a very focused man. No sense of humor, or very little sense of humor, and this is his goal. And he doesn't care about anything else, including the life of his companion. he lets Jake die so he can get answers from the Man in Black. And speaking of Jake, in the first book, The Gunslinger, he's a side character. He's mentioned, and it's kind of important, but they don't go into any depth about him. He's a lost child. He winds up in this world where he has no idea how he got there, other than the fact that he remembers that a Man in Black might have done something to hurt him, might have pushed him in front of a car, and he died. And so it's one of those things where in this movie, he's the main focus. Now, I know why they do this. It's the same reason why they do in any movie or any TV show. They want to give the human character relatable to the audience. And I get it. I get books are different than movies. They have to be. Books are huge, and it's 200, like for the whole series, it's like 100 hours long. It's, if you were actually going to read it or listen to it like I do, it takes time. So they got to get to the point, especially in this 90-minute movie. But they're missing the fact that, Jake wasn't the focus. He's not. And in the movie, they gave him superpowers. And he was the main crux of the entire story. And shine, and shine, and shine, and shine. And by the way, we really want to tie this into other movies that you may have seen of Stephen King. So shine, and shine, and shine. It just was repetitive and just seemed cheap and easy. Speaking of cheap, the best character in the entire story for me is Walter, the Man in Black, also known as Randall Flagg. I'll probably refer to him as Flagg forever, because he's the underlying villain in most Stephen King stories that deal with the tower. And I love Matthew McConaughey. I thought Matthew McConaughey was intimidating in this. He had great presence, great gravitas about him. He walked into a room and everybody got scared. And while that is great, it was cheap. It was easy. There was no evil in him other than the fact that he's like, I will use my powers to kill people and it will be quick and easy in death. That's not Randall Flagg. That's not how he operates, especially at the beginning of the story. If you've read The Gunslinger, you know for a fact that Walter, being Flagg and all that other fun stuff, has all the answers for Roland and is kind of the reason why Roland pursues the tower, because he gives him this great vision of creation and says, here's the focus of everything. Flagg's the one that puts him on his quest for the most part. Yes, Roland wants revenge for his mother, and you find that out in later stories that, that Flagg is this evil character and stuff like that. But just from the first story, Flagg isn't necessarily evil, because he's kind of the thing that gets the story going. He's the reason why all of it happens. In the movie, he's just a mustache twirling villain. There's nothing really to him. I want to see the end of time because it's the end of time. I want all the demons to come. And since when is the tower falling bring demons? I don't get it. There was no reason to it. There was none. Now, I'm not saying that it's horrible. I'm not saying it's a terrible movie. I'm just saying it's a disappointment. And a lot of people who've read the books, they're spinning it as it's just part of the cycle. This is another Earth. This is another occurrence of what happens. So my big thing was I'm happy that the cycle's happening again. And maybe Flagg has learned a few things. So he's just pushing everything forward. He's like, you know what? I'm sick of doing this, so I'm going to end it all. I've fought Roland 1,000 times now, and I keep dying at the end of it. So the heck with it. I'm just going to burn everything to the ground. But that's really not what is developed there. If that's the point, they sure didn't explain it at all. Now, as I said, it's not a terrible movie. They do a lot of fan service, which is fun. if you pay attention to some of the details, it's kind of great. When they show production companies, one of the production companies at the very beginning is the Tet Corporation with the turtle and the rose. It's great. You really have to pay attention. Sometimes they smack you over the head with it a little bit. The 1919 references was great to a point until it was everything. And then they solved the reason why it's 19, like within the first 10 minutes of the movie, which was kind of lame. I had my movie theater that I went to, Goodrich Theaters. They did something fun. The first showing of the movie was at 7:19 p.m., which I thought was pretty clever. And if you do the math for the particular day that it was released, which was yesterday, the numbers all add up to 19, which I thought was another little plus. So the fact that they put the wizard's rainbow in the story, and that Walter, as is referred to in the story, actually uses them and uses different ones for different things. He uses the blue to actually see what's going on with Roland, and then he uses black to kind of appear, kind of going Todash, as it was in the story, to show up and kind of intimidate intimidate the gunslinger a little bit more. But as I said, my biggest takeaway is that they were handed this amazing, beautiful world. They cherry-picked some really strange pieces out of it that, in my opinion, they kind of focused on the wrong things. Instead of focusing on, you know, the character that is Roland or the character that is Flag, they went with cardboard cutouts of what the character should have been. If it was me, and my big recommendation, as I said, this is just my reaction. I really haven't had much to think about it. It's only been about 20 hours. I haven't had big discussions with people. It's one of the reasons why I want to post this. I want to see what you think of this. But my initial reaction would be, as much as I want this series to continue, because that is Sony's goals, they want to turn this into another cinematic universe for some crazy reason. As much as I want to see that continue, I would rather you save your money. Go see great movies. Baby Driver's fantastic. Go see Wonder Woman for the third time while it's still out. That movie is amazing and possibly will save the DC universe, because guess what? All the rest of them are crap. But as I said, much as I want this universe to continue, they really need to do some big changes. They really need to concentrate on characters. The 90-minute time length was fine. It just watered everything else down. But that's just me. Tell me what you think. What did you think of the video as far as me presenting goes? What did you think of the movie? What was your favorite part of the Gunslinger series, the whole Dark Tower cycle? Other than that, I'll leave you for now. I've been Pure Sarcasm. Follow me on Twitter, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and all that other good stuff. And until then, enjoy.